I am Hemanth Kolla and I am a generative AI entrepreneur and researcher in the field of large language models, retrieval augmented generation, and AI agent systems in the enterprising setting. And my publications is about the development of secured, controlled, and scalable AI solutions that are incorporated in IT, HR, and customer service solutions to facilitate intelligent automation and decision support. And I create artificial intelligence that prevents frictions in the operations, increases the knowledge accessibility, and enhances the efficiency of services. Being a proponent of responsible AI, I create the systems where innovations, trust, and human control collaborate, making organizations view AI not as technology but as a dependable companion during transformation. Good evening, everyone. Let me ask you something. Think about the most meaningful work you did last week. Not the emails you sent or the meetings you sat through, but the work that actually mattered. The problem you solved that no one else could. The idea you have that changed the direction. The conversation you had that changed someone's perspective. Now, ask yourself, how many hours of that week did you spend doing that kind of work? For the most people, the honest answer is not enough. Because in between the moments of real impact, we spend enormous amount of time doing the things that are necessary but not meaningful, searching for information, filling out the forms, waiting for approvals, repeating the same answers to the same questions. I have spent the last several years studying this gap, and I have become to believe that the most important question in AI is not how do we make machines smarter, it's how do we give up people back their time to do what only people can do. That's the question that drives my work. And the answer I have found is not to build AI that replaces people, it's to build AI that becomes invisible. Let me explain what I mean. We have all experienced technology that demands our attention, systems that forces us to adapt to them, interfaces that requires training, patience, and tolerance, tools that were supposed to help but added new layers of complexity. That's not the future I am building. I am building towards something different. AI that works quietly in the background, handling the things that slows us down without ever asking to be noticed. I call it the invisible colleague. Think about what the best colleagues in your organization do. They don't draw attention to themselves. They don't ask to be thanked for every contribution. They simply makes things flow more smoothly. When you need something, it's there. When a problem arises, it's handled. When a question needs answering, the answers appears accurate and immediate. That's what AI can be. Not a headline, not a disruption, just a quiet, reliable presence that makes everyone around it more capable. But getting there requires a solving problem that most AI systems still struggle with the context. Here's the challenge. When you hire a new colleague, they arrive without context. They don't know your company's history, your team dynamics, your process, and exceptions, your unwritten rules. It takes months, sometimes years, for a new person to become truly effective. During that time, they are asking constantly the questions. They need guidance. They make mistakes. Early AI systems had the same problems, but worse. They were confident even when they were wrong. Ask them a question about your company. They would answer not from your data, not from your knowledge base, but from patterns learned across the internet. They sounded credible, they were often wrong. This is what we call hallucination. And it's not just a technical problem, it's a trust problem because in a business environment, a confident wrong answer does not just waste time. It creates downstream damage. A wrong policy answer leads to a compliance issue. A wrong technical resolution leads to a compounding failure. A wrong customer response leads to a lost relationship. But here's what I find most important about those numbers. It was not about the cost reduction, though cost did fall. but it was about what the IT team did with the time they got back. One engineer told me, I spent 20 years answering the same 20 questions over and over. Now I'm working on a security architecture project that's been on the backlog for 3 years. That's what I was actually hired to do. That engineer did not get replaced by AI, he got freed by it. But knowledge retrieval is only the first layer, because the more I worked with enterprise teams, the more I understood that they did not just need better answers, they needed action. In a real organization, information and actions are connected. You ask a question, you get an answer, and then you need to do something with it. Request access, submit your form, escalate a ticket, update your record, trigger your workflow. In the traditional model, the chains of events required human hands at every step. The AI answers the question, but then a human has to carry that answer into the system and makes something happen. AI agents change that equation. An AI agent doesn't just answer, it acts within defined boundaries under human set governance rules with a complete audit trail of every action taken. Let me walk you through a real scenario. An employee submits a request. I have joined the data analytics team and I need access to the reporting dashboards, the data warehouse, and the project management systems. In the old model, that request goes to IT. A human reads it, checks the employees' roles and departments, checks the governance rules for each system, reaches out to the employees manager for approval confirmation, provisions across access across three different platforms, documents and everything, then closes the ticket. Minimum 40 minutes of human time. Think about what the best colleagues in your organization do. They don't draw attention to themselves. They don't ask to be thanked for every contribution. They simply makes things flow more smoothly. When you need something, it's there. When a problem arises, it's handled. When a question needs answering, the answers appears accurate and immediate. That's what AI can be. Not a headline, not a disruption, just a quiet, reliable presence that makes everyone around it more capable. But getting there requires a solving problem that most AI systems still struggle with: the context. Here's the challenge. When you hire a new colleague, they arrive without context. They don't know your company's history, your team dynamics, your process and exceptions, your unwritten rules. It takes months, sometimes years, for a new person to become truly effective. During that time, they are asking constantly the questions. They need guidance. They make mistakes. Early AI systems had the same problems, but worse. They were confident even when they were wrong. Ask them a question about your company. They would answer not from your data, not from your knowledge base, but from patterns learned across the internet. They sounded credible, they were often wrong. This is what we call hallucination. And it's not just a technical problem, it's a trust problem, because in a business environment, a confident wrong answer does not just waste time. It creates downstream damage. A wrong policy answer leads to a compliance issue. A wrong technical resolution leads to a compounding failure. A wrong customer response leads to a lost relationship. With an AI agent, here is what happens. The request is classified automatically. The agent retrieves the governance policy for data analytics team access. It checks the employee's role against approved access profiles. It verifies that manager pre-approval exists in the HR system. It provisions access to all three platforms through secured governed API connectors. It generates a full audit log of every action with the timestamps and justifications. It sends the employee a confirmation with the links and onboarding instructions. Total elapsed time less than 90 seconds. Human intervention is zero unless an exception is detected. Now, I want to be clear about what I said there. Unless an exception is detected, because this is where responsible AI design become essential. When I say AI agents acts, I don't mean they unchecked. Every action passes through a governance layer. Role-based access controls determine what the AI is permitted to do. Sensitive operation requires human review and approval. Every decision is logged, explainable, and auditable. The AI cannot exceed its permissions. It cannot access data beyond its scope. And when it encounters something outside its defined parameters, it escalates to a human. This is what I mean by invisible in the best way. The AI is working constantly in the background. Most of the time, you never notice it. Things just happen faster, smoother, and better. But when something requires human judgment, the AI knows that too, and it surfaces it immediately. I sometimes describes this is the difference between automation and augmentation. Automation removes human from the loop. Augmentation keeps humans at the center while removing the work that shouldn't not require a human in the first place. We are building augmentation, and she was spending 4 hours a day answering policy questions, benefit questions, documented answers, but that requires her to search through multiple systems, cross-reference documents, and compose responses. 4 hours a day, every day for 16 years. We deployed an AI knowledge assistant for her team. Within 3 months, these 4 hours become 30 minutes. The AI was handling the routine questions with accuracy and the speed she couldn't match manually. I went back to visit her 6 months later. I expected her to talk about efficiency, about the time savings, about productivity metrics. Instead, she showed me something that she had built, a peer mentorship program for new HR professionals across the organization. Something she had wanted to create for years but never had the space to think about, let alone design and launch. She said, "For the first time in my career, I'm doing the work that only I can do." That's not a productivity story, that's a human story. And it's the story I want AI to tell. Now, I want to speak honestly about the challenges because the future I am describing is not guaranteed. It requires choices. The first challenge is trust, and it must be earned, not assumed. People have every right to be skeptical of AI systems. They have seen overconfident claims, they have seen experienced systems that failed, they have worried about their jobs, their expertise, their relevance. Building trust means building transparency. It means AI that tells you what it knows and what it doesn't. AI that shows you its reasoning, not just its conclusions. AI that admits uncertainty rather than manufacturing confidence. AI that can be questioned, checked, and corrected. The second challenge is fairness. AI system learn from data, and the data is not neutral. It reflects the world as it has been, not necessarily as it should be. If we are not careful, we can automate existing inequities, encode historical biases, and make discrimination faster and more scalable. This is not a hypothetical risk. It is a documented reality in AI systems across multiple domains. Addressing it requires diverse teams building these systems. It requires regular auditing for bias. It requires courage to pause deployment when something is not right, even when the business case is strong. The third challenge is change management. Technology is never just technical. Introducing AI into a workplace that changes the workflows and roles and relationships. People need to be understand what's changing and why. They need to be involved in the design, not just the deployment. They need to see AI as something that works for them, not something that's being done to them. Organizations that get this right don't just deploy AI, they build AI cultures where people understand the technology, trust it appropriately, use it well, and help improve it over time. I want to close by returning to the idea of invisible colleague. The best colleague you have ever had, you probably don't spend a lot of time thinking about what they do. You just notice that things work better when they are around. The project moves faster, the problem gets solved, the team's performance at higher level. You notice the impact, not the mechanism. That's the standard I hold AI to, not AI that make headlines, not AI that announces itself, AI that makes the people around it more capable, more effective, and more human, quietly and reliable every single day. We are not there. We are not there yet for every organization, in every context, but we are closer than most people realize. The tools exist, the framework exists, the success stories are real and replicable. What we need to know now is the clarity of purpose to build AI for the right reasons, not the replace the people who sit across the table from us, not the squeeze more output from fewer humans, but to give every human in every organization the space and the support to do work and the only they can do. The invisible colleague doesn't steal the spotlight, it shines the spotlight on the people who deserves it. Thank you.